Hello and welcome to Literati on News Central. I'm your host, Joseph Ike. This is a show where we talk to writers, producers, publishers, culture journalists, social commentators, anyone who's involved in the process that brings these wonderful pieces of literature that help to shape our idea of culture and what life really is like. The show is brought to you by Glow. With me in the studio today is Tope Tedela, no stranger to the camera. We first met Tope on Edge of Paradise. It's a popular TV series here in Nigeria. And since then, Tope has won a lot of awards for groundbreaking movies like Ojukokoro, Dario Laitan's movie, which we'll be talking a little bit more about, and too many movies to count. But the main reason we have Tope, and I'm excited to talk about this, is you've been flirting around a lot with the literary space, where you've been doing a lot more theater work. Recently at the Ake Film Festival, you did a one-man show of Womanizer, which we will be seeing a lot more of the full play, hopefully, recently. Tope is also in The Wives. He's distinguished himself particularly for playing very complex characters and, bringing depth and bringing them to life. So we're excited to have Tope. Thank you so much for being with us today. Now, I said in the introduction that you've been flirting around with the literary space. Yeah. Do you see the connection between, literature and stage and eventually the film space? Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like writers, especially writers who write novels, who write plays, have such depth of thought that is totally unimaginable. Before we came on, I was talking about how I feel writers are magicians because they conjure these words that create these worlds and create these characters that make you think deeply, make you ponder about where you are, about how the world is, about how the world could be, about how the world should be. And I just find it really magical. So, around the world, you will see a lot of books being turned into plays and into movies. And it's just because of that depth. You're compressing maybe 300 to 500 page book into an hour, 30 minutes or 2 hours of film, or you're taking it to the stage. And there's just so much power in these books that we can, take into other art forms and just visual performance forms, and that have just been mind-blowing. And yeah, so I'm really interested, flirting, like you said, around, because I'm not a writer, and, but I admire great books, I admire plays, and why not, give expression to these great works?
I like the way you put it, giving expression to the great work. So in a sense, it's kind of an extension of what is being done, a way of, moving it slightly further. There's been this ongoing, I don't know if to call it a debate or what it is, about what is the literary value of the stage. I think it's a silly argument because I think the stage is a complementary value to written pieces. Now, I say this because one of your other recently had The Wives. Yeah. We have Womanizer. There's a third one I keep forgetting.
Yes, I was in a play called The Mistress of Wholesome.
Yes, I knew there was a third one. How do you even keep up?
You just keep up. It's my job. Okay. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm an actor. So you act.
You get out there. Okay. Yeah. The Wives, and we'll come back to Womanizer because there's a whole lot of depth in Womanizer. Like The Wives is not a new play. It's not. And this is I think in the last 10 years, maybe the fourth iteration. So what is it about this version of The Wives that you're bringing to bear as an actor?
I feel like art generally is collaborative, and it's like layer upon layer. So Professor Yerima wrote this piece, and then through the eyes and the minds and experiences of different directors, they interpret it in different ways. But at the same time, in interpreting his piece, you're going to bring different perspectives to it. The play, the version that I was in, The Wives, was directed by Lala Akindoju, powerful, and that was just a different perspective. Was an experience that I won't trade for anything. And all, but this was different in her approach to it, from her perspective as a woman as a feminist, because The Wives is sort of like a feminist
Yes.
piece, you know, and those things were really highlighted in how she directed the actors and how the actors, you know, brought it to life. But it was phenomenal for me.
So you've taken a segue into the womanizer.
Yeah.
You know, the idea you mentioned, the feminist aspect of The Wives,
Yeah.
and it seems like it just came home to roost in Womanizer. So tell us a bit more about Womanizer.
I say that maybe I'm sort of a coward. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
I am a feminist.
All right.
And I am pro equality, you know, as much as we can have it in the world. But I feel like maybe my gender, men, don't talk enough about how to we don't weigh in on this conversation. And I may not be able to go to all the radio stations and TV stations and shout, hey, I'm a feminist.
Okay,
hey,
yeah,
let there
yeah.
be equality. You know, you get what I mean. But I just felt like I could use theater and performance to sort of shape a narrative that would be thought-provoking,
Yes.
that would help us to just sort of see this subject matter in a different light. And that was really the core of why I went into making Womanizer. I had the idea and talked to writers, and then we tried to put it together.
And I've seen the shortened version of it, which is the one you performed at the Ake Book and Arts Festival. It's compelling. It's amazing, and watching that, it's so engaging that you don't even realize when you get to the end. But afterwards, I was thinking, how does one person stand on a stage and perform for that longer time? I'm thinking, coming from your acting background, where at any given time on the stage, there's so many different people, there's so many things going on.
Yeah.
Now it's
can
just
hide.
you and us,
Yeah.
the audience. How do you keep that up?
I wonder what I was thinking when I thought about doing a one-man play. It
Exactly.
wasn't until
That's exactly the underlying question. What were you thinking?
I don't know. I honestly, it was when I got into rehearsal that I realized that, wow, who sent you, you know, this thing we say in Nigeria, who sent me message? You get what I mean? Like, who told me to do this? But for me, it was on different levels. One, I was passionate about the subject matter. I am passionate about the subject matter.
Yeah.
And I feel like theatre gives you that opportunity to sort of go a bit didactic, a bit, you can sort of get into, you can get away with it, ish, sort of.
Yeah.
So that was that. I liked the subject matter. Then two, I wanted the challenge of doing a play on stage by myself, and I felt like it would stretch me as an artist, as a performer, and I wanted to do that.
You inhabited that space like that's where you were meant to be. And like you said, it's about bringing this narrative to the viewer from a different perspective. And give us a little bit of the tidbits that, from the play.
Let's just take let's take an issue that we see a lot. Now, if you've ever been to church, or if you've ever been in the church space, if you hear things like barrenness, like a woman unable to, it's always a woman unable to give birth to a child. If a church is having programs for children, like to have children, a prayer session or prayer meetings, it's almost always about the woman. Barrenness will be loose. Women programs, just weird things. It's almost always about, at least I grew up in church.
Yeah.
My folks are clergy, partly. So I never for once saw a program for men about infertility. It was always about the women. And it's not always the woman, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not always the woman. So why do we make it always seem, why do we always make it seem like it's the woman who always has the problem? So Womanizer sort of delves into these issues and these things because I just feel it's unfair. I mean, let's just go small and look at an issue like that. And I want to talk about these issues.
Yeah.
I want people to see these issues and see it for what it is and change it, because men are infertile as much as women are infertile. So we need to talk about these things and, not make the woman feel like she's the only problem in childbearing. Yeah.
and not just in childbearing, there are a number of other issues.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just took that one out because that just jumped out.
And I think it's, when we come back, we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll discuss one other issue that Womanizer delves into that allows us to have a more wholesome conversation after the break.
Hey guys, making music for you is so easy for me to do. But you know what else is super easy to do? linking your NIN to your Glow line by dialing *109*NIN hash. Or I can call 109 from my Glow line and follow the instructions. And if I don't want to call, I can text my NIN to 109. I can even visit glowworld.com/NIN. And what if you've forgotten your NIN? All you have to do is dial *346# and Glow will help you remember it. Someone may ask, what if I haven't registered? All you have to do is go into the nearest Glow World and we'll help you register. It's that easy. So don't get disconnected from all of the amazing voice and data offers from Glow. Linking your NIN to your Glow lines is simple, safe, and 100% free with zero hassles.
And we're back. If you're just joining us, we have with us in the studio today Tope Tedela, actor, stage play, drama. Actor, whether it's actor, producer, and hopefully writer soon. We'll get to that. No, you have to come on. You can't flirt around with literature so much without it finally catching.
See, writers are gods. I lay no claim to being a deity. Jeez.
Okay, but we're talking about his one-man show, Womanizer. One theme that you addressed there was this notion. We see it a lot in churches in Nigeria where there are programs for barrenness, infertility that seemingly always target the woman.
Yeah.
It's from this narrative that if there is a problem, it most likely is the woman, which is simply not true.
Yeah.
And this is an area where we know biologically it takes two to create a child.
Definitely.
But then we place the burden when something goes wrong
On the woman.
on one party, not on the second. And I think that's at the heart of the conversations that you want us to have. After we've seen the play.
There's so many there's so many things to talk about.
Yes.
These are just some of
and
the
the other
things.
one is also kind of tied to the name Womanizer. I mean, when you hear Womanizer, we know what's expected, and it's the issue of sex. So tell us just a little. Don't give it all the way.
I'm not giving it all, but it's just this issue. It's just a situation where, and I may be wrong. You get what I mean? Yeah, it's not going to be a perfect piece. These are just things from what myself, the writers, have thought about to talk about. Now, when a man and a woman have sex, sometimes it always feels like the man is a conqueror. Like he did one big thing
He's achieved
something by going to bed with a woman, which I think is totally silly and stupid because it takes two to tango. So there's this culture of shaming women for expressing their sexuality, which I think is stupid. And that's another issue that I try to just address in the play, amongst many other issues. But these are just things that we talk about.
And the whole idea of a womanizer is almost like a badge of honor, a conqueror, like you say.
So the womanizer is actually it's like a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it comes off like you're a womanizer. But on the other hand, because the spelling is WHUMANIZER. So the idea is also we humanize her.
Yes.
You get what I mean? Like we humanize her. And him too, really. But, that's sort of the idea. So there's the womanizer where, okay, this bad guy about the babes. But there's also the part like we humanize the woman. We humanize the human beings. And we all just should take a humanistic approach to how we coexist as male, as females, as men, as women, and so on and so forth.
I mean, and it's beautiful because I've heard people ask so many times, what exactly is feminism about? And I think that title there is exactly what feminism is about. It's about humanizing people who are female. They are not less. No. They are just as human as men. That's. It also raises a question that I've been itching to ask you. Where do you get this? Because you seem to always find these complex, and when you were talking about stretching yourself, that seems to be your happy place. A simple character like the drunkard on the street, no, those don't interest you. The characters you play, even your choices of films to be in, seem to always shift out of the ordinary, out of the normal. Now, the first one that comes to my mind, the one that jumps to my mind is Ojukokoro. Ojukokoro is not your typical Nollywood movie. It's a a noir movie of sorts. What draws you to these complicated? You said something earlier, and that's how Nigerians, who they send you these messages, like why?
That's a hard question, to be honest. I like this. I love these kinds of work. Some of the kinds of films that made me want to become an actor were films like A Beautiful Mind. Russell Crowe starred in A Beautiful Mind.
23rd of
Were films like Gladiator. I just like complex. I feel like the human being is a complex person. So I can't answer the question. It just makes me happy. It makes me happy knowing that I have to do a lot of work to play a role. It makes me happy that it's this crazy, deep, twisted character that I have to explore. And so it just makes me feel like I'm contributing, makes me feel like I'm doing something, makes me feel like you're giving me to chew and I'm actually working,
It's beautiful to watch, and knowing you as a person and then seeing you on the screen and watching that transition from this person to this person. It's such an engaging thing to be a part of, and I mean, commendation to keep going with it. Don't go simple in any way.
Thank you.
Now, which brings me now towards a more complex issue, and again, it's an area that I know we've talked a little bit about this one or two times before now. When we look at the content of what creates these movies, the books, these fantastic books that lead to the stage play, that lead to movies and all of that, and we take that from a slightly more expanded view, as Africans in particular, we have these spectacularly African stories. We have these African narratives, these rich treasure trove of stories to tell, and I mean, we all learn them from even the ones that haven't been told. What do you think we should be doing a lot more of in terms of mining these stories as instruments for showing us a lot more of what we have in common? I'll give you an example. We know that Hollywood, the British cinema, all of these are projections of cultural identity. At some point, do you think that we could begin to look at our own stories as projections of our cultural identity across the globe?
It's been done, or it has been done, but it's just not as broadcasted, for lack of a better word, as maybe the West would have done it. And the reason why, I can't exactly say, but no matter the story that will be told, I want the story personally, I would want the stories to be told with pristine lenses. What I mean is, we have a story like something. It's Gods of a Thousand Forests. There's some book like that was, I can't remember the exact title now. Now, I won't want that film to just be scattered over. If a film is going to be made from that book, I won't want it to just be another film. I want it to be an event. I want it to be done great. And we're on a journey. I mean, the Nigerian film industry that we call Nollywood, we're on the journey. And personally, I'm not where we want us to be and all, but we're getting there. And maybe in a couple of years, we'll be able to really, take these great books and take these great stories that can really project our identity and how awesome we are before, we got twisted by whatever forces and all. But I want us to do it with pristine lenses, like I said.
And I think in line with pristine lenses, listening to you say that, it just reminded me of an experience I had growing up. The first stage play I ever did as a kid, way back when, proper kid, was I played the role of Old Prophet in a play called The Gods Are Not to Blame. I don't know if you know that play. Now, the funny thing about that play is I did not know until I got to university outside of Nigeria that play was actually an adaptation of a Greek classic, Oedipus Rex. I had always believed that The Gods Are Not to Blame is a traditional Yoruba mythology. And in terms of pristine lenses, I think that's what you're talking about, where we so inhabit a story that it becomes entirely ours and fits into the context that we have here in such a way that it resonates with whatever it is that we see ourselves as. We're going to take another quick break, and when we get back, we'll talk about some of your other work that you've done so we don't focus too much on this, and what we can expect coming up.
Can you see me now? We're just having a good time, and I'm feeling so good now.
Where you did?
I dey come now, you go see me now. You go.
Call your party and everybody, yeah. Make we start to the corner.
Where you did now?
You go see me now.
Everybody they dance.
Where you did now?
Oh, you go see me now.
You want to
I'm fine, sir. Even me, I surprised.
Hey, where you at?
Hello, how are you?
Tell us one truth nobody knows.
I like to steam it from my mama pot.
Glow, the best data plans in town. Dial star 777#.
You're welcome back to Literati. We're still with our wonderful guest, Tope Tedela. You're producing a lot more now than just... what's that like?
It's a lot of madness. It's hard. It's hard producing, but sometimes you just can't sit around waiting for phone calls and stuff and waiting for... Sometimes you need to create the work you want to be in and the kind of story you want to tell. And producing gives you that opportunity, and that sort of... so I'm doing more of producing now. And acting, or producing and me acting in the things I'm producing.
So when are you going to start writing? I mean, let's speed it up. Let's get to that.
It depends on what you mean. I've written in the past, but not. I've never written like.
I mean, that's always a good place to start.
No, but like, I studied journalism in school.
Dun, dun, dun.
You know what I mean? So I have some bylines here and there that I'm not even able to find. But now writing on the level of all these great writers, I do not know. That's another chore entirely.
So next year? After the woman I said.
No, but to be honest, I want to do a lot more writing. I don't know what to call the writing I want to do.
Don't worry, we'll name it. Just do it, we'll read it, we'll name it.
I've thought about it, and I scribble some things down from time to time. I write songs, funnily enough, to be, so there's that. So I'm a pseudo writer, but I'm not a writer.
And the truth eventually makes its way out. So next time you're on the show, we're going to be talking a lot more about the songs, the poets, the poetry, a lot more of your written works. Tope, thank you so much for making out the time to be with us today. Thank you all so much for being with us on today's edition.